midweek to then having to turn around and scrap all that and get ready for Zach Wilson and a Cougars attack that was averaging 48 points but only scored 17. And, Coastal Carolina, for all we talk about with them, 10-0, they have to be ranked in the top 10. They have to this week. That conference, the Sun Belt that they're going to they're playing in, has non-conference wins now over Kansas State, Iowa State, your Big 12 the regular season champion, and now BYU. So a great finish to their season. They are the fourth FBS. They were picked to finish. Well, they are in their fourth season in the FBS. They were picked to finish last in that conference that I just talked about, and in their division, and they're now 10-0. So that's the story of the year as far as I'm concerned, with many other stories that we have for a team that came out of nowhere. And Jamie Chadwell was passed over for the South Carolina job by Ray Tanner for Beamer, Shane Beamer. And I understand that, and I get it. Shane Beamer's been there. He was at Oklahoma. But I'll tell you, Jamie Chadwell was the guy I thought that he would give more consideration to. But perhaps he did, and Jamie just said, no, I'm happy here in Myrtle Beach. So I'm surprised that they didn't talk to him, or they didn't
You're
hire
right,
him.
because, there's been head coaches that I know very well, very successful coaches that say, should you take this job or should you wait? Now, if you've never been a head coach, you jump on the first job you can get. Shane Beamer did that. Like you said, Jamie Chadwell may have talked to South Carolina for all we know. He could have turned them down. He may love the Tennessee Vols. I think I heard somewhere where he grew up a Tennessee fan.
So
maybe he wants the Tennessee job. Maybe 100%. I'm dreaming that, but I thought I heard that.
No, it makes sense.
He's done a phenomenal. Here's what's amazing about it, JC. Not only are they in the Sun Belt, but they've only been in the Sun Belt for 3 years.
3 years,
playing Division I football.
And they've only been, and this is their fourth FBS season. And they were picked to finish last in their division, and here they are at 10-0. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment they've done, and they really, they were physical in that game against this big, bad, nasty BYU team, and it was impressive. It was very impressive to hold Zach Wilson to 17 points. Now, granted, they had to pack their bags and come across the country and all this. But look, the field's still 100 yards long and 50 yards wide, and they held those guys, man. They held them.
Yeah, I was very, very, very surprised at that game. Not that they won the game, just how they dominated.
Right, how they played it.
The only thing I did not like coming out of that game, and I don't know if our listeners and viewers saw it,
at
the very end, last play of the first half, number 94 for Coastal Carolina, and another guy basically just mugged Zach Wilson. They were beating him down. You don't want to. I don't know how the guy didn't get thrown out of the game.
Right.
Nothing like that should ever happen on a football field. I was very disappointed in that. Other than that, the Chanticleers are good to go. And I think they're going to have to play Louisiana Lafayette, right?
Yes, they're going to play Lafayette. And Billy Napier was another guy that turned down the South Carolina job. They did interview him, but he didn't want it. So here he is in Lafayette, Louisiana, and he's got a team that beat who was it? Kansas State or Iowa State? It was they beat App State, but earlier in the year they had a big win against.
Yeah, they beat one of the Big 12 teams.
Right. So it's a great story there too. I mean, they've had a lot to go through with hurricanes and COVID-19, and these guys really. I mean, the stories that you could write within these locker rooms for some of these small schools is tremendous. It would be tremendous television if only cameras were there. And I'll tell you, it's been. They should really hold their heads up high for the way they've competed as group of five schools. And it is possible that two group of five schools could get into a New Year's Six bowl, but I know one of them will for sure. So it's a good story for sure.
Yeah, John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. The last play of the game was very reminiscent of the Kevin Dyson of the Titans in the Super Bowl against the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, he held them at the goal line.
They went 91 yards in like 35 seconds.
Right, and he got tackled at the one.
Scored to win the game.
Tackled at the one. Mike Jones, the only Rams Super Bowl win. Yep. In Atlanta.
Chris says here,
Bowl 30.
Brian Johnson interviewed for the South Carolina job also. Yes, he did.
Yep.
all these interviews were done via Zoom, which is still very strange.
Yeah, it is.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It comes from our good friend Daryl. He says, Shane, I think JC has some stock in some sporting goods stores with all those different hats he wears.
Well, I love these 47 brand hats, but of course Daryl knows that I'm a big Rams fan. 8-4 now, winners over the Cardinals yesterday, and Jared Goff, for all the criticism he gets, has 41 wins in 4 seasons, has a Super Bowl appearance, has a NFC Western Division championship, and Sean McVay is the youngest coach in football, and there they are at 8-4 in first place in the NFC West. Eat your heart out, baby.
All right, we'll get to the NFL here towards the end of the show. Let's go back to okay. So first of all, the two big games. Well, there were a bunch of games I thought that were intriguing in the SEC. Yeah. Let's start with Auburn and A&M. A&M wins a tough one. It went back and forth. Bo Nix made, and I'm critical of Bo Nix, but he made one of the greatest plays I've ever seen in college football.
It's a good touchdown. I saw it.
Somehow, I don't know how he escaped those 300-pounders.
Yeah, he got out of there.
Made an unbelievable run, but A&M finds a way to win. Mm-hmm. And I think they have Ole Miss this week.
Yeah, A&M's going to have a toughie with Ole Miss this week, and I think that this is a game where if Ole Miss stays hot, man, it's this team scared the hell out of Alabama, and they are so dangerous. And when they play just a little bit of defense, it gives them a chance in just about every game they play. They have a winning record in the SEC, and for a team that we thought at the beginning of the season, and rightfully so, that had the worst defense we've ever seen in our lives, I have to give credit to that coach. Yeah, but I have to give credit to that coaching staff. They have a winning record. And speaking of Auburn, the great Gus.
I thought they were 4-4.
They're 5-4. The great Gus Malzahn. Well, I think they're 5-4. The great Gus Malzahn. The great Gus Malzahn is now 0-4 against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, 0-4 against Georgia in Athens, 0-4 against LSU in Baton Rouge, and can't beat Texas A&M at home. And it's going to be, they're 5-4. I know that. In the
Ole Miss is 4-4. I know
they're 4-4. So I saw Auburn. Auburn was 5-4. I think in the league. So at any rate, 4-4, 5-4. What difference does it make? The point is that Ole Miss has really gotten better as the season has gone along, and Auburn is Auburn and should have a losing record. So that's how I look at it in the SEC West.
Yeah. Missouri with the phenomenal. Missouri sits at 5-3. Everybody talked about Sam Pittman being head coach of the year. I think it needs to go to Drinkowitz. They're at 5-3 with a phenomenal. They come from 14 down to take the lead, and then give it up, and then they drive and kick the game winner. So hats off to Missouri.
I think Missouri has certainly shown that was a good hire, at least to this point. And of course, I think the coach of the year will be the coach at Indiana, Tom.
I'm talking about in the conference.
I know, but the college football coach of the year will be the guy at Indiana, and they have a nice win at Wisconsin. Any win for Indiana on the road is a good win, and they won that game. So their coach certainly should probably get the coach of the year award. But it's since you brought up coach of the year earlier, but I tell you, the Missouri guy has done a great job as well. It's a tough job, Missouri. I don't know why it's a tough job. They've got Kansas City over here, St. Louis over here, Chicago up there, and a big state to recruit in. But for some reason, they've always been a mediocre at best school. But they have also won the SEC East a couple times in their past since joining this conference. So Missouri, I think, for all intents and purposes, has represented their school fairly well on the football field in the SEC.
Yep. Then obviously Alabama game went exactly how we all anticipated it.
My God. Devontae Smith. I mean, he is.
Well, here's the thing, JC. We know it's the Heisman Trophy is going to be given to either Trask or Mac Jones. Okay.
Right.
The 3 best players in all of college football, in my opinion, the 3 best players are Kyle Pitts from Florida, Nia Smith from Texas A&M. He's number 0. He plays running back, and they put him at wide receiver. Phenomenal kid. And then it's Devontae Smith. Those are the 3 best players in football.
Yeah, I mean, Smith has 200 yards receiving in the first half, I think it was. He makes catches, and everybody knows the ball's going to him, and he still finds ways to get the ball. And, of course, the way Alabama runs an offense with such precision and such good timing and such accuracy, it just flows so nicely. And regardless of how bad you think LSU's defense is, they still have 11 athletes out there on the field trying to cover you. And Alabama has zero problems at all scoring at will when they wanted to. What I was impressed with Florida was once again showing us that so many guys can contribute to win on offense. 9 different receivers getting the ball, distribution all over the field, guys wide open as usual. Tony and Pitts had a combined 15 catches for 236 yards. So that puts into perspective just how amazing Devontae Smith's game was by getting that many on his own. These two had 236 combined, which is great. I mean, it's very impressive. And Kyle Pitts has just done amazing things this year with a great coach calling plays for him and the offensive line protecting him. But yeah, I think when you look at these offenses, the way they operate right now, defenses are just really at a disadvantage with the way these guys are clicking, and the precision and the timing and the accuracy that we see in Alabama's offense is just something to really be amazed by because of how good it can operate. Now, Florida's going to give them a really good game. It's going to be a really tight game, I think, and we'll talk about it as we get closer.
Here's what's interesting,
but it's going to be great to watch.
Jeremy Pruitt, having coached under Saban for all those years, what Florida saw from the secondary, from defensively, is pretty much what you're going to see from Alabama. I don't know if Alabama play as much two-man. Yeah. And when they play two-man, that's when Tony just ran his little option routes, and it'd be a 5-yard shallow cross that turns into 30-something yards. But here we got a Facebook Live real quick, JC. I want to get to this. It's brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. It comes from Natasha Hope Phillips Sherwood. Okay, I'm not sure if that's her whole name or what, but she goes, y'all know I love me some Kyle Trask, but another Kyle is just as amazing. I was reading an article, and this is the line that really summed it up. Even when the opposing defense knows that Pitts is Trask's primary target, they still can't stop him. Pitts always finds a way to get open and make a play on the football. So any chance Pitts and Trask come back for an encore performance in 21? Zero.
No.
Well, I should say Kyle Pitts. No way Kyle Pitts comes back because he's going to be a top 10 pick. That's money you can't ever get back. And he can't really, you're a tight end. So it's not like you're going to go number 1 through 5, I wouldn't think. But
they could also line him up the way Seattle plays Metcalf and the way the Titans play A.J. Brown. I mean, he's that
right. But my point is, he's going to be a top 10 pick probably.
Yes.
I don't see him coming back to improve his stock to be a top 5 pick.
No reason.
There's not a big difference there. So
no reason. But
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. But you what?
No, I was going to go back to the game. Pitts was amazing. I thought we called another really good game.
And whenever there's less than a minute to go or the final minute of the first half, bet everything you have that Florida's going to score. Because if they have the ball in the last minute of the first half, 5 straight times now they've scored a touchdown. Final minute of the first half. That's a stat that I wasn't aware of until I read about it, because Florida, if you think about it, in the last minute of the first half, it seems like they always score. And then, of course, if they get the ball to start the second half, you really are at a huge advantage when you're playing. And Florida has certainly taken advantage of that lucky, the way the ball is bounced with the clock and everything, having the ball right before the half and scoring. This is the 5th time they've done it, 5 straight times. On that LSU game, they lost by 38 points, and that is tied for the 3rd largest lead by a defending national champion in the AP poll era since 1936. This was coming to them, and I think everybody knew it was coming to them. And now they're coming here this weekend, and I don't know what kind of team you're going to see. Probably the same thing, same kind of game you're going to see Saturday night here.
Yeah, it'll be a blowout. We got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Mellon Law. The defense played, Chris says, the defense played better and we did not sub as much. Defense did look better, but I was on a text feed, I think, during the game. It is absolutely amazing to me when you watch Tennessee, you watch South Carolina, you watch Kentucky play, and I'm sure I'm leaving off a couple teams. how bad they are on offense. I honestly cannot figure out what their offensive staff does in the meetings and at practice, because when you watch them, there's never an easy throw.
No,
You know,
everything is hard.
Like Dan does such a tremendous job, because quarterback is the hardest position in all sports to play. You, as a coach, want to make it quarterback friendly.
Yeah.
We have quarterback friendly throws, wide receiver screens, easy throws to the little 5-yard throws to Tony that turn into 25-yard gains. The two of the Kyle's touchdowns were inside the 4-yard line. He threw a wide receiver screen to Grimes. We blocked him. He walked in. And then we did the little disco motion, and Tony's in the flat, easy throw. Those are easy throws. These other teams, I don't see anything easy, and it just blows my mind.
I mean, it makes you wonder what they do all week in practice. Try a wheel route. See if you can make that work with a running back. And I don't know why these teams can't.
The wheel route combination where to the single receiver side, you have the pick with the wheel. That play's been in for years. It's such an easy throw and read for the quarterback, but nobody does it.
No, and Florida makes it look like it's breathing. It's so easy for Florida and Alabama and teams like this. And I just think it's either personnel or these coaching staffs just work on different stuff during the week. And I don't know what else.
Here's the deal. That's why after seeing, I don't get to see the all 22 film, but during the Florida-Tennessee telecast, they showed a couple of pass plays that Tennessee had, and I can't remember if they were from up high or whatever, but I could see all 22.
Yeah.
The route concepts made absolutely no sense, because in a passing game, JC, you're going to learn something here.
I'm listening.
When you have deep routes, you have underneath routes to attract the underneath defender, the flat defenders, the curl, the hook defenders. So then it opens up throwing lanes and allows your quarterback an idea of where the ball should go. This one play that Tennessee ran, I can't remember. It made no sense. The concept made no sense at all. Of course, the quarterback got sacked because he had nowhere to go with the football.
Right.
And it blows my mind. And us Gator fans, we need them to keep Jeremy Pruitt. We need them to keep him.
Jim Chaney,
because he needs to go. Their entire staff needs to go.
And listen, they thought they had a big coup when they took Jim Chaney out of Georgia, and everybody in Georgia was throwing their arms up in the air. Well, how did we lose Jim Chaney? And here's Tennessee doing just what you said, things that nobody can understand with Jim Chaney running the offense.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to defend Jim Chaney at all, but again, it goes back to a guy who's a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
Does he have handcuffs on his coordinator?
Maybe.
The bottom line is I would never hire a defensive head coach ever again until the game changes.
And I think Tennessee is going to, at the end of the season, really have to look in themselves in the mirror and ask themselves if they want to go through 3 more years of this, or if they just want to spend the money. And that's not an athletic budget that has a lot of money. And so I think they've got a real problem up there in Knoxville. But what else is new? This has been going on since 2004 when Lane Kiffin was there, or 2005 or 6 or whatever year that was, because he was the last guy they had that you really kind of felt like Tennessee actually had a chance to maybe pull off an upset. And that seems like it was a lifetime ago. So they've made so many bad decisions finding coaches and hiring coaches that it just never seems to end for that school, and people up there have really lost their minds. And I can't believe they've lost this many games in a row. But you were right, as you said before during the regular season or earlier in the regular season here, that they weren't going to go anywhere, and they certainly are not going anywhere. So I don't know. I think the East is now a two-horse race for the foreseeable future, as it should be, with Florida included now. And I think that what we're going to see in 2 weeks is going to be one of those games that they talk about for a long time, because a lot of points are going on the board. Florida will score a lot on Alabama. Alabama's defense has played better. And like I said, we'll talk about this as it gets closer. They have played better since that Ole Miss fiasco, but they are not a defense that I think is going to shut down a good offensive team. You have to remember, Alabama's played a lot of teams that are bad on offense, just bad teams.
That's true.
That's helped their defense. That's
very true. But I read somewhere where Florida, they were comparing the two. They were looking forward to the game. They said that Florida had played much weaker defenses than Alabama had played,
I don't know.
and they both have played very similar weak off. Look, let's be honest. I'm the biggest SEC homer you'll ever find because it just means more. But
these
the
schools are
SEC
playing bad
is
football
awful
right now. They're
the
playing
SEC
bad
is
football.
awful. When I saw Missouri and Arkansas in the swamp after the first series, I'm like, these are some bad football teams, bro.
Well, but I think a lot of all the conferences have that type of year now. Having that type of year, all the conferences have really bad football teams. Would you take Missouri over Wisconsin? I would. Would you take Arkansas over Michigan State? I would. So I think every conference can sit back and look at their teams and say, man, we are really top heavy this year. And it's just one of those years. And every conference has some really garbage teams out there playing and kids that I don't think have bought it. I mean, I think there's a lot of teams out there. I think this is very real. I think there's a lot of folks that are detached from playing right now. And because of the situation we're in, you've got a few teams that are playing for something. I think the Alabama game will come off with a total of 70. I really think so. I think we're going to see a game in the 30s or 40s. And so, they're going to go up and down the field. It's going to be a great thing to watch if you love offense. And I think that's what we're heading for. I really do.
Yep. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. December's your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, and we'll be joined by Scott Carter here momentarily. JC, how do we do on the Peachland Dental weekend picks?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, QB. You're kind of wilting here at the end of the season as we go with a 4-7 week, and I went 7-4. That brings your total to 59-50, still above 500. But I have expanded the lead now to 7 games at 66-43. And some of the games that we had differences on, you won the Kentucky-South Carolina game, but I covered the Tennessee-Florida game with that backdoor touchdown, and I covered the Oregon State-Utah game, and I also had Indiana, and you had Wisconsin, and then I had Iowa State, and you had West Virginia. So that's where we ended up differently, and we've got a couple more weeks to go, and it's been a good run for both of us picking these winners and staying above the 500 mark, man. I think that's pretty good to do against the spread.
Yeah, I agree. JC, have you heard the attendance or how many they're going to allow into the Mercedes-Benz Dome?
I have not, but what I did do is I went on StubHub, or was it Ticketmaster? It's one of those two, and I looked at the stadium to see what tickets were available, and the tickets are going for extremely high prices, and there are very few, it looks like, that are currently on the secondary market. So now that we know the schools that are officially locked in for that game, even though we knew back a couple weeks ago who would realistically be playing. Now that it is official, the schools can start to talk about how they're going to distribute tickets. There will be fans at the game, but it will not be anything remotely like the past SEC championship games and some of the very few tickets that are on the secondary market. And I'm only talking about a couple hundred here for an 75,000 seat stadium. The very few tickets that are available are so spread out in very various sections throughout the stadium by themselves. I mean, one seat's here and 6 seats over. You have $600, and that's $400 up high at the very top, and it is very high in that stadium, and $600 on the lower bowl currently. I think those prices will come down certainly, and I don't know who's going to be able to go or not.
They only allow Florida season ticket holders to even put their name into the hat, but I'm pretty sure 20% of 70,000 is what, 14,000 people.
That's it. That's all they.
Yeah. So usually, I'm and normally at this game, probably in the real world. Yeah. About 15 to 20 of those 20,000 go to corporate people, and then they're divided. The schools only get so many. So
right.
I'm curious. Maybe Scott will know the amount of tickets, but I'm thinking only 5,000 for Alabama, 5,000 for Florida. Is my guess.
It's going to be an empty stadium. There will be some noise there that sounds way off in the distance. I don't think they'll let bands come. Maybe they'll let pep bands come. I'm not sure how it's going to play out, what it's going to look like. But the product on the field is going to be as good as we've seen now in years. Although the Alabama-Georgia games were very, very good to watch and very competitive.
My play of the day or player of the day, team of the day, however you want to put it. It's brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchase, $199 value. Our service department is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience. JC, my team of the weekend or week goes to the Hawthorne Hornets.
Absolutely.
Coached by Cornelius Ingram. They're going to play for the first time in school history. They're playing Baker, where I don't know where Baker's from.
That's McClenny, isn't it?
No, that's Baker County. They're 5A. This is 1A football.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, they're playing for the state title. You know, they won the girls and boys in 2020 in basketball state titles.
Yeah,
they have a chance to win it in football.
Right.
But they're my Comfort Temp team of the week.
I love it.
They upset Madison County, who's won 3 straight titles.
Yeah, that is a great win to beat Madison County. And
Madison County should be a 4A school.
Right.
Somehow they play at 1A.
No, that's the biggest win in their school's history. And Hawthorne has had 1 year to remember in their athletic department, and good for them. It is such a small outfit over there, but they sure have come together as a community. I'm very proud of Hawthorne, and I hope they can do it. We
got these people talking about it's not Baker County, folks. It's Baker.
Okay,
Baker County is in McClenny. They're a 5A school. They actually got beat Friday night on the last few minutes. So, JC,
I'm going to
take a break.
I'm going to give you one quick pick tonight. I am picking, just so you know, you heard it here first. The Washington football team will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight outright. They are a 7-point underdog, but they will win the game outright. And I'll tell you why I said that on Wednesday.
All right, JC, be good, my man.
All right, see ya.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take a time out here. When we come back, we'll be joined by FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
Hey Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Check out our show Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, Nike, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar. Opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by our good friend, Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Shane. Doing well. I don't know. We didn't get the snow and stuff we thought up in Knoxville on Saturday. It ended up being a pretty nice day, but it's all rainy down this way today. I don't know.
I want to say the weather, the temperature and all that, because when I did my pregame show with Steve Russell,
Mm-hmm.
He gave a weather update from Knoxville, and then in Gainesville, it's pretty much the same temperature. So,
It wasn't that bad.
We talked about it is a great win for the Gators. First division title that Dan Mullen's had since he's been here. That's the number one goal going into every season. Just talk a little bit about your thoughts from, the big win at Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, they went up there and they accomplished the mission, like you said. This was a big moment for the Gators, first time since 2016, and a really big moment for Dan Mullen, who has carved out a nice career as a head coach in the SEC. 12 years now, 9 at Mississippi State and 3 now at Florida. And this is his first division title. So he's been there as an assistant coach with the Gators, obviously knows what this game is about, knows what it means to the program. But it was a moment that, he said, hey, we need to enjoy this. This is why he came to Florida. This is the standard at Florida. And now you're right. The next step is, can they do what they didn't do in 2015 and 16? And that's go up there and compete against Alabama and perhaps win the conference title. But overall, Shane, I thought the game, it kind of played out really, if you look at these last 3 games against Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and now Tennessee, they all have a similar theme in that, it wasn't the sharpest start. Then the Gators took control with a run of points. It was 28 straight points on Saturday against the Vols after it was 7-3. And then in the end, it's kind of like, they get some the Tennessee got a couple of scores and made the game look closer than it probably really was. That's a formula that I know is not going to work against Alabama. I think everybody knows that. At the same time, I still think, the Gators are in a position where if they can get the offense humming for 4 quarters against the Crimson Tide, I mean, it will be a shootout. And I think that's the kind of game Florida can win. But against Tennessee, like I said, it was very similar to the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, the good thing about playing Tennessee, in my opinion, well, it's a good and bad. You're going to get to see what Alabama's going to try to do to your offense, because Jeremy Pruitt coached for Saban for all those years.
Yep.
But then again, Alabama's going to pop in the tape, and they're going to see what Mullen likes to do against those man coverages. They played a lot of 2-man, and Kadarius Toney just ate alive their nickel defender, just with a little shallow crosses, little juke moves. But back to Tennessee, being in the press box, just being there, I know it wasn't a normal regular game day. Do you think they're going to keep Jeremy Pruitt?
I saw what Philip Fulmer, the AD, said last week, and he came out and said that, hey, if you look at the first 30 games of his career, it's actually a little bit better than Johnny Majors, who really got that program going back before Fulmer took over. So that, to me, tells me that Philip Fulmer wants to keep him if he's saying that kind of stuff publicly. And if you're looking at the athletic department at Tennessee in a big picture frame, I mean, they're financially, they're pretty strapped right now because of some facility upgrades and maybe some different things over the past decade where that they've spent money that cost them. And of course, they've changed coaches a lot. I mean, since Fulmer, they've had Pruitt, Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Lane Kiffin. So you get in that cycle where you start changing coaches every 3 or 4 years. And eventually your program, I think, unless you hit the jackpot once, it just continues to slide. And I just think it's a reality check for the Tennessee fan base. I mean, I've had talks with coaches and people who really understand the conference in 2020. I mean, I just don't think Tennessee has all the pieces to really have the run they had under Fulmer and Majors. It's just a different kind of program. They used to own Atlanta in recruiting. Obviously, that was when Georgia was down. Georgia, that's not going to happen when Georgia's up. So there's a lot of factors there, Shane, but I won't be surprised either way. But I know if I was making the decision, I'm probably going to give him a little bit more time, unless there's just some information out in there that I don't know about. You have to make.
Well, like I told JC, Gator fans, we don't want them to make any changes. I mean, seriously, I just, watching Tennessee, and we had somebody on Facebook ask this. I want to ask you the same question. Do you think our defense has gotten better? I do think they have, but we have played in the last 3 weeks 3 teams that have no clue of how to play offensive football.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think there's some concern there when you do look at what they've allowed. Like Tennessee had 3 90-yard scoring drives. And that's not, you don't ever want to give that up. And they got some things going with their quarterback they brought in, JT Stroud. I thought he was better than Bailey early on. But yeah, I think the defense has shown some signs of improvement. They haven't given up as many maybe big plays, but they've allowed some sustained things happening. And I think really for me, it starts with sometimes the secondary looks like it's freelancing a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word, but they get lost a little bit. I think, you got Zachary Carter and Brenton Cox Jr., who I think have been playing well up front, but it seems like there's been some guys up there maybe just inconsistent. So it's a week by week thing. I thought Ventura Miller had a really good game on Saturday, but you got to have more than one guy.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're speaking with Scott Carter here on the Titan MR hotline. Back to the offense. Obviously, Pitts and Kadarius Toney had big days again. Copeland caught a touchdown. He had a couple of drops, but look, drops don't bother me. We as a coach and a player, drops, they're going to happen.
Sure.
Because, I have people texting me, well, Trask numbers would have been this if they would have caught these balls. Well, he also got fortunate that they caught a couple of his balls that probably should have been intercepted or not thrown. So it kind of goes back and forth. I'm just so anxious because I do think Jeremy Pruitt's a good defensive coach, and I was so anxious to see their plan against Florida's attack. But Pitts, he's just a guy you just can't cover. I mean, we talk about the mismatch. We've been talking about it all year. But he may be the best player in the country, him and Devontae Smith at Alabama.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument. He's a disruptor, a game changer, whatever the adjective you want to use. You're right. There's no defense really for him. And I think in the Florida-Alabama matchup, that's going to be a highlight for both teams, that they know, okay, what do we have in our bag of weapons here that we know we can use? I mean, for Florida, it's Kyle Pitts. For Alabama, Devontae Smith. And, I mean, that's got to give the defensive coordinators some concern there. And I don't know what Tennessee's plan, was when they got on that roll of 28 straight points. It didn't look very good. Like you mentioned, drop catches. You're right. They had a couple, but Trask, I thought, did what we've seen him do all year. He got lucky on a couple of throws, but he also made some really good throws, and he was just consistent. He was just consistent. You look at, everybody was complaining at halftime that he was having an off game, and you look at the stat sheet. What was it? 21 out of 28 for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. I just think the bar has been set very high, Shane, and now people are expected, I guess, 450 yards and 6 touchdowns every game. He got 4 touchdowns this game, 433 yards. So Dan Mullen will take that again against Alabama. But what they're going to need, obviously, is some plays on defense. There were no turnovers in the Tennessee game. Neither team forced a turnover. That's an area that I think against Alabama, Florida's going to have to come up with a turnover or two.
Yeah. Take nothing away from what Kyle's done this year. Phenomenal year. I get people on these Facebook Live questions, comments, text. Florida needs to run the football better. Okay. Well, in theory, yes. But can we? Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah.
My point is, okay, Kyle's numbers are probably enhanced a little bit because we throw the ball a ton more than anybody else that we play. And we should, because the object is to win the football game. And Dan Mullen's job is to put the kids in a position to be successful. Now, people say when you play Alabama, we got to keep the ball away from them. We do, but we got to score. And running ain't going to be that ain't the way to do it against Alabama. So in your mind, Scott, and the perfect world, yes, we want to be balanced. We want to run the football, but that's not going to happen. We've played, 8, 9 games already.
9 games.
We need to throw the football to have a chance to win.
Yes. Yeah, they're not going to suddenly run for 250 yards against Alabama. I can tell you that.
No.
What they're gonna do is they're probably, Trask was 35 of 49 on Saturday. Those were career highs in both categories. Won't be surprised at all if he gets maybe up to 55 or 60 attempts against Alabama. It's going to be that kind of game. And I think you're going to see Alabama throw the ball around a lot too. They do have an advantage with the running game. They're better at it. Florida is not that good at it. But, you look at the game, and we've talked about how the games change this year. You go back and look at great teams look at the way the Patriots won under Brady and Belichick. It was totally different at the end than how it was at the start of their time together. So Florida's program, I just credit the coaching staff and Dan Mullen, because we all know that this isn't typically the way he likes to run an offense with this much toward the passing game. But he said it a couple of weeks ago during his press conference that, if you had to define this team, the one thing that this team is, it's a team that's confident when they pass the ball. And that's what they do best, like you just said. So that's what we're going to see against Alabama. That's what we're going to see against LSU. Maybe they'll try to run it a little bit more against LSU, but they're not going to be a 200-yard rushing per game kind of team.
No. Anything stand out from Dan after the game in his press conference?
I just think at first he was kind of fretting a little bit about looking at the stat sheet. I think he was disappointed on some of the points they left on the board. And I was in the room there to Scott Strickler. He's like, hey, you got to smile. You got to enjoy this. And he kind of did. He kind of lightened up on his media conference. And that's when he said, look, this is why he came to Florida. It was to play for championships, to win championships. And I think they've taken the first step. And he immediately turned to, hey, we have bigger goals than this, and they still control their own destiny, so they can't ask to be in a better position. But I think for the next couple of weeks, they'll put in a lot of work to figure out how they can best exploit that Alabama defense. And obviously, I keep kind of skipping past LSU, but LSU, you never can overlook LSU. But I wouldn't expect them to stumble on Saturday against the Tigers, but we'll see.
Speaking of LSU, I think it's going to be senior night.
Yep.
We're going to expect Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask to go out with their parents. We had somebody ask me earlier, any chance of them coming back? I don't think there's any chance of Kyle Pitts coming back. He's a top 10, top 12 pick. He can't enhance his status at all. Now, Trask, in my opinion, I'm not sold that he's leaving because, the so-called experts have him as like the 5th or maybe the 6th quarterback to be taken, which would probably put 3rd or 4th round. Have you heard anything? I know they're not talking about it because they're focused on the season, but is there any chance you think he comes back?
Shane, I'd be surprised personally. He's not indicated anything. And I just think, when you look at where he was a year ago, maybe in the eyes of the NFL compared to now, you're right in Kyle Pitts. He can't really do much to enhance his stock. I don't know if Kyle Trask can at this point, even though he's not a first-round pick. When you go from kind of a backup unknown to a Heisman Trophy frontrunner, that's a heck of a jump to make, and you're gonna get probably your best position in the draft after this year, as long as nothing happens bad from now until then. But who knows? I've seen stranger things. Obviously, we know Kyle Trask loves it at Florida. We know he's got his girlfriend on the softball team. We know he could come back theoretically. So the option is there. But do I expect it? I'd be pretty shocked. But we'll see, Shane.
Are you? I shouldn't say are you surprised, but you know how the ACC went ahead and canceled Notre Dame's and Clemson's games this week, giving them a bye week before the championship. Did you ever think the SEC may cancel the games for Alabama and Florida?
I never thought they would. I know there was some people, I'm sure some coaches who maybe was pushing that way. I just think And Mullen, he was asked this after the game. You could tell he was pretty strong about his feelings on it. I just think it's a dangerous line to cross when you start doing that, because now it's almost like you're kind of rigging the system in some way. The ACC, obviously it's an advantage. They want Notre Dame to get in that playoff. We all know that. It's a lot easier to do it if you don't have to play this Saturday. And yet Florida and LSU and Alabama, they're playing. And I didn't like the move personally. I know a lot of people in the SEC didn't like the move, but in terms of the SEC itself, considering that, I'm sure there were discussions. I know there were people, mostly coaches, who maybe, hey, if they're going to do it, we should do it. But I like Greg Sankey's stance on it. I like the fact that he wanted to play those games. And Mullen said, look, we're competitors. We want to play. And he was pretty adamant about, how this plays out. This is going to determine the future of the college football playoff, because if this turns out like a lot of people envision and it benefits the ACC, is that where the game is now? And are we going to see a lot more of this to make it a fair playing field again? It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it really is. Scott, got any good stuff on FloridaGators.com for these folks to read?
Going to have, like you said, some senior day stuff. I'm going to run out of one more Kyle Trask story just on how the guy got here. Doug Nussmeier, who I told you about, the man most responsible really for it. So talk to him. And then what else? Just going to have a senior day stuff and back at the Swamp, the home finale. So next week, Shane, looking forward to preparing for Atlanta. That's going to be different, man.
Yeah. I got to ask you this. Don't take this the wrong way either, because are you tired of writing the Kyle Trask story? Not about how he's playing, but how it all started, because, if you have not heard the story, you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Well, what you do is you try to find little things you haven't touched on yet. I think I've touched on them all. I think we all have. So, Doug Nussmeier's been in the NFL for the last 3 years, so he hasn't really talked about where Kyle Trask is today compared to where he was when he saw him 5-6 years ago and thought, hey, we can get this guy. So it'd be interesting just to see that point.
So have you talked to Doug for this story, or are you going to talk to him?
No, we traded texts, hopefully later today.
Yeah, because I'm anxious to hear what his being a pro coach the last 3 years, and usually the coaches don't do a whole lot of the evaluation. That's the scouts and stuff. But I'm curious of what he and the Cowboys think from a draft standpoint, what they think of Kyle.
Yeah, I'll ask him that, and he's got to look at this story just as one of the most unique in his career, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah. No doubt about it. It'd be interesting. Maybe you should ask him if we had played if y'all had played Kyle Trask, would y'all still be coach of your?
I'll see. I'll run that by him, see what he says.
Yeah. All right, Scott. Appreciate it, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Have a good one, buddy.
Yeah, that's Scott Carter joining us on the Titan & More Hotline. Going to take our second time out of the pro. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. I want to thank JC for joining us and also Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Go check his work out. He does a tremendous job for the university. Don't forget, tomorrow we got Chris Leak will join the program along with Buddy Martin on our Tuesday show. Make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Today's show is a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.